Making a diagnosis is really helpful when families are affected by rare disease. It reassures them as to why it happened, it gives them information about whether it'll happen again, and it improves the care of the child or the adult with that rare disease so that people don't do the wrong things to them. But what we're now beginning to dare to imagine is that we can actually cure these rare genetic diseases. Two new technologies have come along over the last 10 or 20 years which have really transformed that. So here at the Institute of Genetic Medicine, we were the first to successfully transfer the nucleus from one cell into another, so-called a cell nuclear transfer, the same as was used to do Dolly the sheep. The first human example of that was done by our researchers here. So we've now got research teams here and across the country and across the world using stem cell technologies to actually treat rare diseases. And you can, for example, take a cell, skin cell, or in some of our research, an eye cell, and genetically change it and then put it back in again. And the ability to genetically change these cells has become much easier using a new technology called gene editing, which has been discovered over the last 5 years or so. So it becomes possible to safely change just one letter and check that you've got the correct change, and then you've now created a cell which is identical to the person it's taken from, but which can now do what it previously couldn't do. And we've just heard, for example, that some successful work's been done with haemophilia, so that you can correct the spelling mistake, produce cells that can make factor VIII and give them back to the child, so that instead of having to inject them every time they take part in sporting activities with expensive factor VIII that we've manufactured elsewhere, they make their own factor VIII. So the possibility of actually curing rare diseases of this type starts to become a reality. The legislation has changed as well. So-called orphan disease, orphan drug regulations meant that if the pharmaceutical industry develop a new treatment for a very rare disease, then their market will be protected so that other people can't copy and replace them, which means that they'll make enough profit to justify the research project in the first place. That puts a burden on the healthcare systems, but on the other hand, if we can cure a rare disease, rather than spending decades having that person in and out of hospital, then the healthcare system will benefit as well. So the cost effectiveness is often very high. So we're looking at a new era where the thousands of rare conditions that we previously just shrugged our shoulders and accepted were an inevitable burden of humanity are now becoming treatable. And in the future, we can look forward to preventing or avoiding the health consequences of these diseases for many thousands of people.